Hello and welcome to Morning Tarot. I'm doing the Major Arcana and this is the second video in the Major Arcana series. So yesterday we looked at the Fool, the Magician and the High Priestess, and today we're going to look at the next three cards in the series. That's the Emperor, the Empress and the Hierophant. And I will get started straight away with these. So when we looked at the Magician and the High Priestess, we were looking at this kind of idea of the magical aspect of life, using sort of, just to recap very quickly, the Magician, this kind of like almost the male energy of this card, using the kind of the magic that you have within yourself, like kind of manifesting things, using all your talents and skills to create exactly what you want from life. The very much kind of like a god energy, I think I referred to. And then the High Priestess having this kind of almost like a goddess energy about her, using the magic and the power of your intuition and your inner self and your inner knowing. Now we move on here to the Empress. Now the High Priestess represented that very kind of feminine idea, this idea of the intuitive feminine, the sort of divine feminine within, this kind of intuition side of femininity. And the Empress represents femininity as well, a different aspect of the idea of femininity. The Empress is very much the Earth Mother. I look at the Empress and I think of Mother Earth, of Gaia. She exemplifies all of the kind of aspects of things that we traditionally associate with being feminine, that are nurturing, that are mothering, that are kind of loving. And if you look at her, she very much is this kind of loving sort of mother, earth mother figure. She's a real earth mother. She's wearing this crown of stars on her head and she's sitting in this lush verdant landscape. Her kind of throne or her seat is so plush and comfortable, it's covered in cushions of softness. This is somebody who is able to just relax and enjoy life as it happens. This is somebody who is in the moment, and it's a situation that tells you to stop and look at it, what is, and love what is in the moment, just to be and to enjoy living and enjoy your situation. And if you're in a situation where you feel like you haven't got any joy and it's difficult to do that, to really look for something, anything about that situation that you can enjoy, that you can love, that you can smile about and feel happy about. Looking at kind of the imagery in this card, I'm afraid there's a lot of glare on the card today. We've got, first of all, this stone heart that sits on the throne. It's quite a dominating part of the picture. My eye is very often drawn to the heart, and the heart being a universal symbol for love, for warmth, for nurturing spirit. And it's very significant, I think, that this heart in this card is made of stone, because it is saying that kind of real love, the love that you have inside yourself, for other people, real love is enduring. It is made of stone. It's not inconstant, it doesn't come and go. When you have that kind of real love inside of your own self, your own being, then it is an enduring, eternal thing. And within the heart as well, we have the symbol for the female, the feminine symbol. That's also the symbol of the planet Venus, and that all kind of comes together to really bring this kind of earth mother, sort of earthy feminine energy into the card. She's wearing this very kind of loose flowing robe. It's almost like a nightgown. It's a really loose flowing robe, and quite often in different decks you'll see that the Empress card is actually depicted by a pregnant woman, because it has this feeling of mothering, nurturing and sort of pregnant possibility in this card. In this specific deck she's not shown as pregnant, but this is a very loose robe. It smells like a maternity robe, and she's sitting with her knees slightly parted. There's a real feeling of fertility in this card, and it's all around her as well in the background. You can see here there's this little river that flows into a waterfall, and water representing emotion. This is just gentle, free-flowing water, and that's talking about this card being full of gentle, free-flowing emotion. This is a person who is very calm, who is very centered, very grounded, very earthy. Someone who embraces people and just loves people, who finds something inside people to love. She brings this amazing sort of energy with her, and this card brings this amazing energy into a spread of this grounding force and this kind of feeling that we are all love, we're all sort of divine, we're all deserving of love, and we really need to extend that love out to other people. She's got this corn here that's grown up in the foreground of the card. There's a great feeling of abundance, like gentle abundance with this. It's not necessarily talking about financial abundance as we find in some of the cards. This is talking about kind of real abundance, sort of nurturing from within, the things in life that are truly important, what true richness really is, represented and encapsulated by the Empress in this card. The only kind of thing that you might want to note about the Empress card is that sometimes people can get so super comfortable that they can almost like just stop, like zen out completely. So sometimes, occasionally, if you've got a lot of cards that surround this in a spread that are indicating a need for drive and for motion, it might be saying to somebody, you know, you do have to get up sometimes and get going, because there is a tendency to just sit back and get too comfortable occasionally with this card. But that's a very rare interpretation. I mean, there's so much kind of richness in this and so much love and support, and this is somebody, if it's representing a person who is a very supportive person, who will support you like a mother does, somebody who will love you no matter what, somebody who accepts you for who you are, who doesn't care about your faults, your perceived shortcomings, but sees the specialness that's inside you. So this is an incredible supportive, nurturing influence and person to have in your life, or to be yourself. It's a really positive card. I'm going to try and do this a bit shorter than yesterday's video, which went on like for ages. Next up, so we've got the Empress, there is the Emperor. Now, I really think that it's very interesting to note in the tarot deck in general that things and cards do come in patterns and in pairs, and you can really see this as I'm just trying to pick up the cards next to me. As I was just mentioning earlier, the kind of the manifesting magic from within, and the god energy that goes with the goddess energy, and manifesting the magic that comes from your intuition together. This kind of male and female balance, the two. And then the balance of the women, you've got the divine feminine that comes in the aspect of sort of intuition and knowing and wisdom and sort of feminine mystery. And then you've got this kind of earth mother feeling of sort of divine feminine that comes out as well, this kind of tangible, loving, nurturing side of femininity. Then you've got this earthy side of femininity next to this earthy side of masculinity as well. I just think that's quite interesting to note. And the Emperor very much is kind of a traditional masculine sort of guy in a lot of ways. He is he's grown a very long beard, and he often does represent somebody who is older, an older chap, an older gentleman, or somebody who just has those sort of qualities that you might think of as being very traditional. This is quite a traditional person. The Emperor, in contrast to the Empress, who's in this kind of natural background, who's all kind of ease and free flowing and go with the flow and sort of basking in the warmth of earth. The Emperor is very solid. He's a very fixed, solid, strong presence. He is surrounded by kind of rock and stone. His throne is very solid, very square, made of stone. He's got the rams on the four corners. And this is this idea of square, solidity, of solid foundations, of sort of strength, and also it is sort of representative slightly of the astrological sign Aries. Aries, the ram, the strong-headed figure, and those kind of passionate and strong qualities that come with Aries. And also that his background is actually kind of rocky mountain. So this is somebody who is very solid presence. He can come across as being quite almost grim and unsmiling. He is here, unsmiling. He's a very stern figure. This would be somebody, for example, who would be like very much a traditional father figure, who sort of rules the roost, or sort of rules the family, or someone who's a boss who rules the company with kind of an iron fist, who's always in control of everything that goes on around them. The buck stops with him. He's the line in the sand. If he makes a rule, then people stick to that rule. What he says goes. So he has that real kind of force of personality and that sort of force of will. It's a very dominant-willed character, dominant-willed person. And for that reason, occasionally you might find that this card is saying that someone needs to lighten up a little bit. Perhaps they need to think about bringing more of that kind of earth mother energy into their life and just relax a little bit. We can't always be stern and grim and strict, but at the same time, when you see this card, you're looking at somebody who is dependable, somebody who will make decisions, and somebody who is quite strong and who will stand behind their opinions. This is not somebody who is particularly warlike, though I do often think of the Empress being Venus, with the symbol of Venus here, this is the Emperor is almost like Mars to the Empress's Venus. So he does have those kind of fiery, strong qualities, but he's not an argumentative person. He's not a personality who's going to go out and wage war on people. He's not angry in that sort of sense. But if he is threatened, or if somebody tries to encroach upon him, then they will very much meet with a solid wall. You know, he will fight for what he believes in if necessary, and he will probably win that fight because he is so strong in his opinions. There can be a slight feeling of a rigidity of thinking here. So if you're encountering the Emperor as a character in your life, you might be dealing with somebody that if you butt heads with them, you feel like you're not getting anywhere. They're not very they don't very easily accept necessarily another point of view or another person's opinion. This is somebody who commands a lot of respect and respects other people that reflect back similar qualities to their own. So if you approach them with reason and logic, then they will respect that reason and logic. Otherwise, they might find you a bit flaky. And like the ram, you know, they've got big horns. If you want to try and kind of crash heads with them, then you're going to have a pretty tough head because their head is pretty strong. And he's a kind of a stern character and a stern figure. So perhaps he does need to learn to soften up a little bit and to kind of express the emotional side. But certainly as somebody in your life, this is a very solid person, a very solid presence, and somebody who will sort of be there in that kind of rock-like way when you need them to be. And sometimes we do need this. We need to cultivate this in ourselves. We need that kind of inner strength, and we need to be able to stand up for ourselves and to draw that line, to learn to say no to people if we don't want to do something, and to actually use our head as well, and not always just follow our emotions. Like, think about things through, think about what you actually want to do, and have that inner strength and have that ability to say no, and to stick to what you want and what you want to do in your life. And the final one today that we're going to look at is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is often called the Pope. I think sometimes he's called the Oracle as well in some decks. And you can see, looking at me, he actually looks like a religious leader. He is dressed almost as a pope. You know, he's holding his fingers up in that kind of religious symbol, and he is on a kind of a throne. He's surrounded by acolytes who've got their hair shaved in kind of the manner that monks do. He's sitting in this kind of rich robe with this rich crown on his head and this scepter in his hand, and you can't really see his face very well because of the glare on the lens. That's not really helping, is it? I'm just covering it up. But he does have a kind of almost like a mask of a face. It's serene and still. There's no real emotion in there. And the Hierophant card, he's got crosses as well down the front of his robe there. The Hierophant card is one that really does represent this idea of institutions and sort of knowledge and the power of the collective, and very much in an institutionalized kind of way. So if you see the Hierophant card, you can often be talking about universities or colleges. You can be talking about mosques or churches or different religious sects and ideas. You can be looking at companies and corporations that are established, that are large. This is very much a card that talks about the establishment. And you can often look at this card and you might think that you or the person that's being represented here is the Hierophant, or you might believe that you or the person that's being represented are the acolytes in the card. With the Hierophant, we're talking about the need to respect tradition sometimes, and though we all like to think of ourselves as like free-thinking, free-flowing people, sometimes it is important to have tradition. It's important to respect people's traditions and to honour people's traditions and to honour other people's beliefs. This card is often a reminder that even if you don't agree with something, you really need to try very hard to respect other people. And sometimes this card is telling us very much that you must in life occasionally play by the rules. You can't always be a maverick. That doesn't always work out the best way. Sometimes you have to play by the rules. If you want to earn a degree, and you have to go to class, and you have to study, and you have to listen to the teacher, and you can have your own opinion, but you have to take on board what they're telling you and trust in them to give you the kind of knowledge that you need. If you want to do well in a company, if you want to advance in your job, if you want to move up the ladder, then you're going to have to learn to play by the rules. You know, you've got to respect your kind of superiors in the company, and you've got to play the game, and you've got to work hard, and you've got to work within the parameters that are set for you. It's not necessarily about throwing yourself into a box, but it's understanding that sometimes that you do have to follow the regulations, and you don't have to do things in a conventional way. Conventional is not always a bad thing, and the Hierophant very much is kind of this figure who leads one of these institutions, who leads one of these organizations, where you've got the Emperor, who is almost like the ruler in a kind of a sort of a king-like way, rules his kingdom, etc. The Hierophant is the ruler of kind of these traditional knowledges. I mean, if you look at the Hierophant as the Pope, you're looking at somebody who is that intercessionary between God and man, who it kind of acts as the mouthpiece, who can translate messages forwards, if that's the kind of system of religious belief that you subscribe to. At the bottom here, you see that there are crossed keys, and keys very much represent knowledge. The key to knowledge, the key to success, the key to luck. And the Hierophant will, if you give him the respect, or the situation, if you do play by the rules and you do respect what you need to do in order to get where you're going, and you follow those steps, then you will be rewarded with the key, because this person, this institution, this idea does hold keys for you. So there is an opportunity for you to use this situation, to use this institution to benefit you, so that you can gain the key to open the door to the next stage in your life. Hopefully that makes sense. Well, have a lovely Monday. I don't know if you've noticed, but I uploaded my first video yesterday on Sunday because I'm trying to get through the Major Arcana, and there are slightly more cards in the Major Arcana than there would be, or that there would be. It's not fixed. I'm saying that there are maybe. What am I talking about? Babble. Anyway, there are more cards in the Major Arcana than there are in the Minor Arcana, so I'm kind of doing a few extra days on this. So have a lovely day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.